Hello everyone, welcome to Homeschool. So in the last part, we had seen the hierarchical level of classification, right? The kingdom, phylum or division, class, order, family, genus and species. And I had said that in the next video, we'll be seeing certain examples. So we have three examples here. So first example, we'll take up the humans only. So Homo sapiens is the scientific name of humans. So the kingdom to which humans belong is Animalia. So it shows that we are animals. And the phylum, I had said that phylums is mainly for the animals and division is for plants. Okay, so we have to consider the phylum here. The phylum is Chordata and then the class is Mammalia. Order is Primata. Then the family is Hominidae and genus is Homo and the species is Sapiens. So this is the level of classification for the human beings. Similarly, another example is Mangifera indica, that is mango. So what is the classification for mango? So kingdom is Plantae. Then I had said for the plants we have to take it as division. We cannot take it as phylum here. So the division is Angiospermae and the class is the Dicotyledonnae and then order is Sapinidales and then the family is Anacardiaceae. The genus is Mangifera and then the species is Indica. Alright, so Mangifera indica is the botanical name of mango and this is the level of classification. One more example of tiger. Tiger is an animal. So this belongs to the kingdom Animalia. And then we have to take it as phylum here. We cannot take it as division. The phylum is Chordata. What does Chordata mean? These all we will study in detail in the next part or in the next chapter. Okay, you just have to know the names and basics here. So Chordata is nothing but the vertebrates. All right, it is a vertebrate. And then the class is the Mammalia. It means those are also the mammals. Again, I'll repeat it. The kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Chordata, class is Mammalia, order is Carnivora. It means that they are carnivores. Fine. Then the family is Felidae. We had seen it in the previous class also. Fine. So family is Felidae, genus is Panthera and species is Tigris. We had also seen few other examples in the last video that instead of Tigris, you can simply change the Tigris and you can write Leo also. If you write it as Leo, it becomes Panthera Leo, that is the lion. Alright, if you write it as Tigris here, it becomes the classification of tiger. If you write Leo, it becomes the classification of the lion. So it means that lion and tiger are very closely related organisms or animals. Since they are closely related and they have the same genus, above the genus everything remains same. Okay, since they belong to same genus, above the genus whatever levels of classification are there, everything is same for both tiger and for lion. Clear? The next topic is taxonomical aids. What are taxonomical aids? See, when you're going for the studies of taxonomy or when you're going for the studies of the identification or classification and everything, every time you cannot get into a forest or you cannot go into some wild place and study the specimens there, isn't it? So you need some aids or helplines which can provide you a particular sample or a proper sample to have a clear study and understanding. Okay. Taxonomical aids will give us it will help us in studying and the better understanding of the living organisms. All right. So there are many such aids, and very important aids are being mentioned in your syllabus. So first among them is the herbarium. Herbarium. So this is seen mainly in case of the plants. We don't use it for the animal studies. It is only for the plant studies. So what happens here is, imagine you have a plant. Let's take a very simple plant, either rose plant or something. Okay, we'll take rose plant only. So we have a rose plant, and there will be certain sheets like this, which are called as herbarium sheets. Okay, so on those sheets, the rose plant or a small part of a plant or twig which we have got, okay, so that will be properly dried and it will be pressed properly. So and without any damage, it will be sun dried and it will be pressed properly, and then it is sticked on the sheets. Okay, this is a herbarium sheet. On the herbarium sheet, that dried sample or the dried specimen which is properly pressed, that is being fixed here like this. Imagine this is the plant, this is the rose plant which we have brought, or a small twig of the plant, rose plant, and we have properly fixed it on the sheets. So we are preserving this sample. Okay, we are preserving this specimen, and then at the corner here, all right, at the bottom corner, there will be a small space in which all the description is written. All the description of this particular plant is being written. So what does the description include? The description includes its name in English, its name in English, or its local names, its scientific name, the date and place of collection, as well as its family to which it belongs. Rose belong to Rosaceae family, so that has to be mentioned. And then finally, the person who has collected that particular specimen, his name has to be, or her name has to be mentioned. So we'll write it as collector's name. Okay, so herbarium will provide you a dried sample. It is not providing you the living sample. It is providing you the dried sample which is properly pressed and fixed on the herbarium sheets. It is being preserved on the herbarium sheets, and that is for a long run. See, there will be some rare species, like you cannot get them in the normal areas where we thrive. Those will be seen only in the deeper parts of the forests. Everyone cannot go to the deeper parts of the forest and see that particular plant, isn't it? So if the herbariums are there, then you can easily take a herbarium, see it, and you can get a mere idea how exactly the plant looks and what's the description of that, isn't it? So on the sheet, it will be having a description column at the bottom. In the description, you'll be having the name of the plant in the English and its local name, scientific name, or you can call it as botanical name of the plant, since it is only for the plants. Then date and place of the collection, to what family it belongs, as well as the collector's name should be mentioned in the herbarium. Fine. Next one, the first aid is herbarium. The second aid is botanical garden. Botanical garden. Okay. So here also, as the name suggests, it is about the plants only. So here the collection of living plants is being seen. Okay, in the herbarium, it is the dry specimen, it is not the living specimen. So it's a dried one. In case of the botanical garden, everyone might have visited one or the other botanical gardens. So it is the collection of the living plants for the references. And what will botanical gardens do? They mainly educate the people, right? You in the herbariums, you might just see a small twig of it which is dried, so it will give you very less information. Whereas when you get to see some botanical gardens, there you can see many varieties like which you have not seen in the place where you thrive, isn't it? So this is mainly to educate the people as well as for the scientific studies. There are many botanical gardens and a few important botanical gardens. I'll be writing it here. The first one is the Indian Botanical Garden, which is present in Howrah of West Bengal. Indian Botanical Garden, which is present in West Bengal, or Howrah is the place where it is present. So previously it was called as Royal Botanical Garden. Okay, the very oldest name of this botanical garden is Royal Botanical Garden, and then it was renamed as Indian Botanical Garden. One of the oldest, somewhere in the year 1787 or 84. So in the 17s, it was like this was open, and at that time its name was Royal Botanical Garden. After that it was changed as Indian Botanical Garden, and very recently again its name has been changed, and there might be a chance in the examination, instead of asking this name, they can also ask it as Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose Botanical Garden. Remember this. The recent name is Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose Botanical Garden. Okay, and where it has been situated? It is located in Howrah, West Bengal. And one very important thing which you have to remember about this botanical garden is there is one great banyan tree there. That great banyan tree is 250 years old, and it has got around 2,800 prop roots. Can you imagine it? So just imagine how it has been spreaded in a vast area. All right, so it is 250 years old and it has got 2,800 prop roots. And the beauty of this particular tree is at the main trunk which was there, that has been lost. I mean that is not there now. So the tree is surviving on these prop roots. Okay, so this is one particular botanical garden. And the second one is Kew in England. This is one more important botanical garden, and then you have to remember National Botanical Research Institute. National Botanical Research Institute, and this is situated in Lucknow. This is situated in Lucknow. So these three are very important. You have to remember, and this is very, very important. And instead of Indian Botanical Garden, they may also ask it as Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose Botanical Gardens. And what you have to remember is there's a great banyan tree present in this particular botanical garden. Third taxonomical aid is museums. Museums. Everyone have visited one or the other museum. So what are the museums? Museums are the places where we get to see the collections of various plants, various insects, various animals and everything. And you might have seen the small museums in your own schools and colleges also, isn't it? So some insects will be killed and they'll be pinned and they have been preserved, isn't it? You have studied frog, you have studied cockroach, earthworm and everything. So that is all how it has been preserved in the museums. Fine. And then the next one is the zoological parks. What are zoological parks? It is nothing but the zoos. Again, everyone have visited the zoos. The famous zoo in the Karnataka is Mysore Zoo, isn't it? So, what do we get to see here in the zoological parks? Here, the animals are being protected in a very enclosed area. Okay, they are being protected in the enclosed area, and again the zoological parks will also educate people. They are also used for the scientific study, as well as it is meant for entertainment or recreation. Fine. See, the zoological parks, botanical parks, they give us information in a living condition. We can see the plants or animals in the living conditions, whereas the herbariums and the museums, they usually provide us, or we get to see the organisms in a non-living state there, because they are being killed and fixed. Right? So in your schools, in the jars and everything, they'll be keeping some animals, small animals or insects and all. So that is all in the non-living condition. They have killed them and then they have preserved it, isn't it? Then last one is key. What exactly a key is? See, key is something, let's take, there is one unknown organism. We have found a new organism. We'll just imagine the name is taken as X. Fine. So when you are going to find which category or to which taxa it belongs, then what happens? There'll be usually two statements. Fine. We will take one example, X, and then we will take various characteristics also. For example, whether it is a unicellular or multicellular, whether it is whether it is autotrophic or heterotrophic, whether it has a well-developed or well-defined nucleus or no. These are certain features. All right. So every single character or every single feature is considered as a key here. Example, if the state of the cell is taken as a key, we have two conditions here. One is unicellular, or it can also be multicellular. All right. This X, for example, you have got this X organism to me, and I am trying to see what exactly type of organism it is. So what I will do at that time, I will first see whether this organism is a unicellular organism or it is a multicellular organism. Now let's imagine this is a multicellular organism. It means that here we have two statements. One is the X is unicellular, X is multicellular. So these two statements together we call them as couplet. Okay, together we call it as couplet. And among these two, which is giving us the answer, or which is leading us to the next direction, that is being called as the lead. Okay, I'll repeat again. The key is something which gives you an idea about the characteristics of that particular unknown organism. Fine. So here X is a unknown organism. So we have to see to what characteristics or what features it is showing. Fine. So for every feature there will be different properties. Like Here, X might be a unicellular organism, X might be a multicellular organism. So, these are the two statements here, and these two statements we call it as a couplet. Among these two, one is the answer, and that becomes the lead here. Next one, similarly, whether it is a autotropic or it is a heterotropic. So again, this is a couplet. This is a couplet. If it is multicellular, then we are seeing whether it is autotropic or heterotropic. So imagine it is heterotropic organism. Then out of this couplet, it becomes a lead here, right? Then whether this organism X has got a well-defined nucleus or it doesn't have a well-defined nucleus. If it is having a well-defined nucleus, we get to know that it is a eukaryote. If it is not having a well-defined nucleus, we conclude it as a prokaryotic. So let's imagine it was having a well-defined nucleus. We have stained the organism and we have observed it under the microscope, and we were able to observe a well-defined nucleus. It means that it is a eukaryotic organism. So the out of the couplet here, one is well-defined nucleus, other one is not well-defined nucleus. So out of these two, which is the answer, that is called as the lead. So likewise, we'll be taking many features of characteristics and we will find the leads one by one, and finally we will reach the organism. So key is something which will provide us the various leads to reach the organism. Clear? The first taxonomical aid is the herbarium, second one is the botanical garden, third one is the museum, fourth one is the zoological parks, and fifth one is the key. Along with these five, we also get to see some other types of aids also, like flora, which mainly gives us an idea of the habitat and its distribution, and then the manuals. They mainly provide us the names of the species in that particular area. Like for example, we have one animal that is seen in this part as well as some other part. So what is the name which is being called in that area, and what is the name of the species in this particular area? So all that information is usually present in the manuals. And then the monograph, it is a type of aid which provides the information on only one taxa, one particular category. Okay, this is mono. The name itself suggests mono. It provides the information on one particular taxa. And then another one is the catalogs. So catalogs, it provides us the general information. All right, it provides us the general information. They also help, all these flora, manuals, monographs and catalogs, they also help in the identification or characterization or the categorization, classification, so what we call, of the plants and animals. But the herbariums, botanical gardens, museums, zoological parks, keys, these are being considered as the main taxonomical aids. So I hope you have understood each and every part of the chapter. This is very basic chapter, guys, and you have learned most of the concepts in your previous classes also. So I think there won't be any problem in understanding this chapter. Okay, so we'll stop the class by this and we will continue the next part with a new chapter. Do subscribe the channel for the better information. Okay, thank you.